So let's talk about Battlefield Earth. L. Ron Hubbard. Look at this monster. Look at that. 1,000 pages and over 1,000 pages in paperback. A monster. All right. Battlefield Earth synopsis. So the year is 3000, and Earth has been about 2000. Earth is invaded by an alien race, the Cyclos, and they've been running it for 1,000 years. They're basically trying to strip it of. The Cyclos are a mineral-rich, mineral-hungry race. They basically control the 16 universes, and they are here to strip mine Earth. Human beings are an endangered species. They've got like about 35,000 or so humans left, and in scattered pockets. One of the scattered pockets, one we focus on, is a small little village in the mountains, and that's where we meet the hero, Johnny Goodboy Tyler, who is a 20-year-old young warrior. The story revolves around him and his desire to find out why, to improve the life of his people. Why does no one want to leave the valley? Why do people get sick all the time in the valley? The animals seem fine outside the valley. Why not move there? Well, he quickly, being an adventurous sort, you can see him there on the front. I assume that's him. He's an adventurous sort, and he moves out and is captured by the Cyclos. So the Cyclos are these 10-foot tall or so, 9-foot tall, hairy purple creatures, and they're all sociopaths, and they're they care only about themselves. So that the other main character in the book is called Turl, and he's been assigned to Earth, which is a backwater, crappy planet. He is the security chief, and he hatches a plan to use the humans to help him mine for gold. And gold is very, very valuable, more so to the Cyclos, more so than it is for us. Anyway, he's going to basically cheat the company, use the humans to mine this gold for him, and then smuggle it back and become rich. So it's a pretty long story. It's quite interesting story in the fact that the Cyclos are they're complete and utter sociopaths. It's incredible how evil they are. Caring only about themselves. And of course, Johnny Goodboy Tyler is the perfect hero, and I think you'll see this in the other books that of Hubbard's that I review. His heroes seem to be always perfect, godlike in their perfection, almost completely flawless. Anyway, so the saga of Battlefield Earth goes on for quite some time with Tyler, learning the Cyclo language, meeting other humans, hatching a plan to defeat Turl and save Earth, and then, in a not really a twist, but about halfway through the book, spoiler alert, the humans win, but it's not over yet because there's the rest of the universes to deal with. And it's quite an interesting way how they're dealt with and the various twists and turns. There's a lot you can say about L. Ron Hubbard, and I'm going to say it closer to the end of this video. But I like the book. It's a good book. It's an interesting story. It suffers from the fact that again the character is almost flawless. But sometimes it's kind of nice to have a character like that, a good character, and you root for Johnny. You want him to win. It's the plucky humans against the 16 universes, so to speak, and how they overcome these incredible odds. It's a good story. So a little bit more about Battlefield Earth. There's a movie Came out in 2000. It is, along with the first Dune movie, it's widely heralded as the worst movie ever made, and it's bad. I've watched the Dune movie. I can watch the Dune movie and enjoy certain aspects of it, especially the costuming is really done really well in Dune. But there's nothing about the Battlefield Earth movie that is worth watching. Nothing, no redeeming qualities to it at all. Um, the star of it is Travolta, and his acting is just horrible. You can't believe what they do. The Cyclos are portrayed as big humans. They're like, well, they're ugly, but they're not big purple monsters. They're portrayed differently. Everything about it is just bad. If someone asked me, "Hey, should I see Dune?" and I'd say, "Well, if you were interested in science fiction, it's a Dune. It's a good, there are aspects of the Dune movie that are good. Like I said, especially the costuming. Whenever I read the book now, I see the costumes that they wear, and I think they really fit the the style and story of Dune. But there is nothing that I can recommend about Battlefield Earth at all. My friend dragged me to when it first came out. A little bit after, my friend dragged me to it. Hey, let's go see it. I go, really? You want to see that? The movie got like 0 stars. He's like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. I'm like, oh, I just dreaded it, and I was right. It's really bad. So don't waste your time. So what else about this book? Like I said, it's a good book. I think one of Hubbard's better novels, his best novel, perhaps. It's great, but so let's talk about what. However, uh, after Battlefield Earth was released, if you don't know, L. Ron Hubbard is the founder of the Church of Scientology. So after Battlefield Earth was released, there was this big buying spree by Scientologists. There's all kinds of stories of people coming in and buying hundreds of copies. Various churches, Church of Scientologies, whatever they call them, their little groups of churches. I don't know, franchises are they called, around the country, being told to go and buy 1,000 copies, or sell 1,000 copies at the church, and if you don't, you'll be fired. That kind of stuff. So yeah, so New York Times bestseller and #1 book, etc. All those things. I don't know if you can put much stock in that, but I like it. I recommend it. It's interesting. It gives us a good look at it's one of Howard's L. Ron Hubbard, excuse me, later works. So it's a good example of that. So yeah, I would definitely suggest it to give it a try. At the very least, you can say you've read the longest science fiction book in ever written at 1,000+ pages. So I hope you enjoy at Battlefield Earth, and leave a comment on your thoughts of it in the comments to this video. So let's talk about the Mission Earth series. This is the second book of Mission Earth, Black Genesis. I'm thankful I don't have all of them. I just have one of them. This is from the Mission, as I said, Mission Earth series. This is the 10 books, decology. They coined a term to describe it, decology, by L. Ron Hubbard. Came out, written just before his death. I believe the first one came out, and he died around that time. So the first one is called The Invader's Plan. So you can Google all the names: Invader's Plan, Black Genesis, Enemy Within, and find out what they are. I won't list them all. It's not really worth it. So the story revolves around the hero, fleet combat engineer Heller, who is basically, he's a perfect. I spoke about this. He's a perfect character, and this guy really does have no flaws. Perfect, can't be corrupted. He has all kinds of amazing abilities. So his people the Voltaires want to conquer Earth because they're going to use it to invade the galaxy. So, Earth is falling apart because of pollution and war. We're going to kill ourselves. This will disrupt their plans, so they send this guy down here, and he's supposed to prevent Earth from destroying itself. Meanwhile, he is being followed by the antagonist, Sultan Gris, who is also part of the Voltaire military, but he's like an intelligence officer. Anyway, his job is to follow Heller and sabotage his plan. It has to do with the internal politics of this the Voltairean Empire, and Gris's boss wants to overthrow the government. So if they, sabotage the plan, it will work to their favor. So, as you can imagine, this is 10 books long. So there are quite a lot of back and forths going on. So most of the story is told through Gris's eyes, and you see the way we find out what Heller is doing. We don't know what Heller's internal monologue is, because we basically see all the action through Gris, and he's got like tracking devices and cameras on Heller. So he spends, he gets into various trouble himself. He's given a bunch of gold in order to support his mission, and he just tries to launder it and try to keep it for himself. So he gets himself in various trouble when that all screws up. So he spends his time, tracking Heller, and everything we see are through Heller's eyes, but we have no internal monologue. We just, see it as Gris sees it. So there are, whole books where it's simply, Gris, sitting in his, a machine like a reader, like a VCR type machine, and watching what Heller is doing and try to figure out, he's going over here, without knowing, why he's going anywhere, because we have no, internal monologue from what Heller is doing or any of his plannings. We'll just see him go from place to place and do things, and eventually we it all fits together. But by then, sometimes it might be too late for Gris to do anything about it. But he'll try to go in and sabotage. There's all kinds of, stuff. There's a Earth is under a conspiracy to keep the population, under control with drugs and rock and roll music. There's, the mafia and the Corleone family and all kinds of stuff. Ice meteor that hits the Soviet Union, and the entire oil supply gets turned radioactive, which is kind of, sort of near the end of the series. So, as you can imagine, it's all kinds of twists and turns. And all kinds of weird stuff that happens. Do I recommend the series? Maybe try the Invader's Plan and see how it goes. I think the main reason to read this series is to say that you read it. You can say, hey, who else has read this decology? All, 1.2 or so million words of it. Black Genesis did win a Hugo Award in the Best Novel category, but I'm not sure why. I don't know why. Maybe Hubbard bought it with the Scientologists. But anyway, it is, it's a somewhat interesting story, but there are long parts, whole books where you're simply, it's a guy sitting there. You're not subject to that, but you have to think that the main character, the one that you're seeing everything through, is watching someone else do something for most of the book. So it's kind of strange that way. However, it's complicated. It goes back and forth. There's all kinds of twists and turns. In that way, it's kind of like, Battlefield Earth, but more so. You see sort of same sort of themes going through it. I think I'll talk about, I'll mention it now. Ron Hubbard hates psychiatrists, um, and in Battlefield Earth, and also in this series, he savages them. I remember, not knowing anything about him and reading the books and thinking to myself, "Wow, this guy really hates psychiatrists. I wonder why." So, yeah, so you'll get a couple of cuts at a psychiatrist, but no mention of Scientology or anything like that. So, do you want to try it? Well, maybe try the first book, but if you want to read a book by Hubbard, I think Battlefield Earth is good. I mean, it's long, but it's good. But it's not 10 books long. So yeah, read Battlefield Earth. If you like that, you might like the Mission Earth series. But just be there's some interesting stuff in it, but be aware that it's long. It's going to be a bit of a slog to get through it, especially around number 6, 7, 8. You're going to be just like, oh geez, what's going on here? So as long as you steel yourself for that, you may be one of the few that is able to finish it. What's the total page count? I'm just uh, almost 4,000 pages. So it's 4 Battlefield Earths. So it's not 10 Battlefield Earths, but it's 4 of them. So just be ready. If you can, give it a try. And I'd love to hear comments about this series from other people who've read it, because I think it's something that not many people are able to get through. All right. See you at the next book.